Basically, all of the different classes for Destiny, the Titan, the Warlock, and the Hunter, they all have like their own sort of silhouette, so it's like easy to recognize them at a distance. Hunters usually have capes. Titans usually have big shoulder guards and stuff because they're basically wearing a suit of armor. And Warlocks basically wear dusters or robes to make it easier to differentiate them when you're like in Crucible or something. I got my little linen robe that I have. It sort of reminded me of that silhouette, and it's sort of like it feels nice to project that a little in the real world. I didn't really notice it until we were talking about it, but yeah, like just extremely comfy, and also it feels nice to wear it while I'm playing.
Oh, do you wear it while you play?
Now that you brought it up, I started doing that.
Really?
Yeah. Moonier. Okay, Salmon Moonier, and that's from Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. I think the reason I started like cooking so much and doing like cooking associated with video games is like around the time Destiny 1 came out, I don't know if it was because of Destiny 1 or if it was just something that happened like concurrently, but I started cooking a lot. And like when Destiny 1 came out, I remember cooking like little pumpkin buns, like pumpkin steam buns, and I just remember drawing a lot of fan art for myself where I'd have like my little EXO character eating what I was eating. And then I got my parents to make characters on Destiny 2. And so like my mom made a character, my dad made a character, and then I was like drawing them and like helping my EXO character cook stuff. And so I made like noodles at one point. I think the pumpkin buns were like the first thing I ever made. And then there was like these little matcha filled cupcakes. I just remember I was doing a lot of cooking, and so I think I was starting to associate cooking with video games at the same time because I was really into Destiny, I was really into cooking, and that sort of culminated me like, hey, maybe I could like see what other video games have a lot of cooking in them so I can make those too. And then I was into Dishonored and I started making like drinks and stuff based off of Dishonored. I made peach tarts from Dishonored at one point and I brought them to class and I shared them with my friends and that was fun.
That's cute. I love that so much.
I just know that there's like a specific quest you need to make the dish for with it, and so I feel like that's why it kind of sticks out a little bit more than some of the other recipes that I have.
So you have to work to get the recipe, I guess?
Yeah. Because I think you can only find salmon in like a certain location. So like once you find salmon and log that in your encyclopedia, then you just can like experiment with like what you can actually make with it. I think it's just sort of like a way of like bringing part of that game into the real world, I guess. Like the companies will do like clothing, and then there's the food cafes and stuff in Japan that people do, or you can get like limited merchandise and stuff. And I guess like cooking is like the easiest way to bring that out and share that, as opposed to people who do like these large sewing projects to make clothes or some other thing from the game.
I have those dog tags from Mass Effect that I ordered. I like made them myself. I had them all customized. That was like I think the first thing that I had that I was walking around with that like made me feel empowered by the role that you have in the game. It was under my clothes, no one else could see it, but I was just like I need the strength and like strong will that the character has that I'm able to embody through these like kind of totems, I guess. Ugh, I'm feeling down. I need to wear my space underwear or my space socks. I need to draw on the commander today because I'm stressed out and I just need to be like, ugh, I saved the universe from the rebirth.
You're like taking in those qualities.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes me feel stronger as a person by taking those strong characteristics from the character. It's like making that role physical somehow, I guess. I was so into Dragon Age that I started getting so much merchandise, and as soon as I found the encyclopedia, I bought it, and then I found out there was a cookbook in it. And as soon as I found out there was a cookbook in it, I immediately was like, I have to make everything from this, because I was so obsessed with the game at that point. And I think it was kind of like, in such high fantasy games, it's like you want some of this shit to be real. It's like you want a lot of it to be real and to be able to experience it or be at least in that space. And by making those recipes from the games and stuff, it feels like you're able to do that. Like you're able to kind of pull something out of that digital space and pull it into the physical space, I guess. You can take it with you. And so whenever I made those hearth cake things, I always feel so cool whenever I make them, because I just think about the history behind it for the Dalish elves and stuff, and I think about all the stuff that I know about them with all their really shitty background of the things that have happened to them, and I connect with them as a people within Dragon Age so much, and that it feels like a cultural extension or something for me. It was kind of comforting, and I really liked it. There was a lot of stuff with me and Marky that we written into the characters, and it was kind of an inseparableness. Me and Marky at the time were hanging out like 6 days a week, spent most of our time together just playing video games and mostly playing Dragon Age, going over to her house, swimming, doing whatever, but we spent a good amount of time together, so that was written to the characters. So the characters were like a direct digital relationship between me and Marky's friendship and things that we did. It all started because Marky bought like a golden leaf crown thing while she was away. And when she came back, she brought it with her and she put it on. She was like, I put it on whenever I play Dragon Age. And I was like, that's so fucking cool. Why did I think of that? And so I started putting on a tunic that I had from the SEA. Marky had bought me a fur coat maybe the year before. And so I started wearing that too. And then it got to the point where we just put on all of our stuff at once. Whenever we'd hang out, we'd sit there and play. And it was like we were trying to just be within the space as much as possible.
Yeah.
And that helped because it wasn't just putting on the clothes. Sometimes, then it started falling into cooking because I bought the encyclopedia. So then we were doing both.
Yeah.
And then we were like, we're losers.
I've had friends who've noticed it before. They're like, oh, you're doing your Akira look. There's that set tone within the game. It's very sleek, it's very stylized, it's very polished. It's something that just became really natural after I started playing it. And after Alyssa started like watching me play it, it was just really easy for her to send me like fan art and stuff like that and be like, oh, it's you. It felt comforting. It felt natural. I don't know, we just sort of joked around that was essentially me. He's got like curly hair and he wears very similar colors to me, and I've actually worn like that set outfit for a job interview. I just feel like it made me very comfortable. It made me feel like I was, I don't know, capable of executing like professional skills and talk like eloquently in that setting, you know?
Yeah.
I'm thinking about cooking from Final Fantasy 15 it's one of the desserts. Yeah, it's called the Golden Chocobo Tart. And it's just a really sweet custard quiche type of thing, which I'm sort of like experienced in baking with, so I'm gonna do that. In the past, I have made chicken with rice. It's called the Rock of Ravata rice in the game. You have to kill like a pretty big griffin for that. Papa Bird and Baby Bowl. And the Kupo Berry cheesecake. It's one of the features that really drew me to Final Fantasy 15 when I played it. When I started, I was still in the dorms, so I was pretty miserable, I'd say, in terms of what I was eating. So I sort of saw like being able to unlock and sort of make all these recipes as a getaway from all of that. And I feel like a lot of people felt that way too, because there's been a couple of like fan collaboration cookbooks for this game.
Really?
Mm-hmm. I feel the same way in that you want to bring it to life or bring it into some sort of physical aspect. The graphics, at least with the food renders, are already so realistic. And I don't know, they look so good. It's pretty attainable, since I've already made some of these recipes. And I think when I started doing that, there still is, there's that emotional attachment I have from making these foods and then also making these foods in the game. Every time you camp out, every time you have Ignis, the character who cooks for you, every time he makes food, there's always a cutscene. The character and your friends are just having a good time, at the campfire, they're eating, they're joking around with each other. They have their chocobos, which are the giant bird things that they ride. Sometimes the birds are eating too, and it's really, really cute. There's character-specific memories tied to some of these because certain characters prefer certain dishes. I don't know if you're familiar with any of them, but Gladio, the big burly guy, he's really, really attached to cup noodles for some reason. That's a thing that pops up in the game occasionally. He just really likes instant ramen, to the chagrin of the other characters. And it's something that I remember, even after, what is it, 3 years after playing this game? That sort of physical, affectionate warmth I still associate with those foods and making those foods in real life, because I don't make them for just myself. If I'm doing it, I usually serve it with other people. It doesn't seem right to make it for myself, because I already associate it with a found family aspect